Hello, hello, hello. This is 3D or 2D.com's The 3D Show.
It came from the third dimension.
As always, I'm your host, Adolf Vega, and with me is...
James Tate.
Put on your 3D glasses now. 3D glasses not included.
And if you're wondering what the 3Ds are in The 3D Show, well, they stand for discussion, debate, and the news. I will not be talking about
Disney ruined Star Wars.
or
De Beers.
but we will probably talk about
Avengers.
and
Mario.
I do hope you enjoyed the show. The show, get it?
Okay, welcome to episode 55 of the 3D Show. This is December 4th, 2016, and we got quite a lot to talk about.
Yeah, while we were gone, there was quite a few movie news and, just a little tiny article as well, I believe. So let's just get started.
Alright, so right as we're posting the last episode, we got a whole bunch of trailers, and we're going to talk about those one at a time. So first off, Beauty and the Beast, live action Disney trailer. What do you think?
Well, okay, I'm not exactly a fan of Emma Watson as an actor. Well, I mean, besides the Harry Potter films, I don't necessarily think she's that talented. But, I mean, she doesn't look terrible as well. But I don't personally feel she's, like, the best choice for Belle,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that Beast looks okay. Like, he doesn't look, like, terrible, Like, he looks like kind of what Beast would probably look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, one thing that was kind of weird was seeing all the, actual dishware and stuff talk.
Oh, yeah.
That looks weird in live action to me. It didn't fit right. That's, in a cartoon it's fine, but in live action it just kind of looks weird. Like, it doesn't make sense, And, I guess cautiously optimistic about this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think besides Jungle Book, there's not really been a good live action. I mean, Jungle Book doesn't really count as live action because a lot of it's CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does, kind of doesn't, but I know what you're saying, and because of Jungle Book, which, is one of the big surprises this year for me, I really enjoyed that movie. I'm going to give this doubt, the benefit of the doubt. So I think it should be alright. We'll see if it holds up or if it, how the songs work too, because Beauty and the Beast has some really awesome songs too, and they really did mess up the songs, I think, in Jungle Book. So how that actually works through, and I don't know about you, but I think The Simpsons basically ruined one of the songs, the Beauty and the Beast,
Yeah.
The Simpsons, when they do, see my vest, made a real gorilla chest,
See my vest, made from real gorilla chest. Feel this sweater, there's no better than authentic Irish setter. See this hat, was my cut, my evening wear, vampire bat. These white slippers are albino, African endangered rhino, grizzly bear underwear, turtles' necks, I've got my share. Beret of poodle on my noodle, it's a rare.
Yeah, and that song just kind of ruined it for me because I can't think of the original song without hearing the Simpsons version parody, But it should be okay.
The thing is that the original animated film was really good, and I think that the problem is, the Jungle Book animated film was, okay for the time. It was pretty good, but I mean, Beauty and the Beast was legitimately like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So, I mean, George R.R. Martin was writing the screenplay for it, so, I mean, it was really good. So it's going to be hard to kind of beat that. And not only beat that, but I mean, like, make it so that it's going to have to be really, really good to even, like, be remembered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we kind of forget is that it was, like, nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
You know, this was Best Picture at Oscars. And, it was pretty much well accepted as one of the best movies of 91. So it's one of those things that's really high bar to come, if it, it's, like you said, Jungle Book, I think people like it, and I think it's a classic that came out back in the day. But like Beauty and the Beast, people legitimately consider that a masterpiece of Disney. One of the top 5, so.
So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be kind of really difficult to even, like, because the only way that it's going to be okay is if it's just as good, and that's going to be really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then, we already have 20, 30 years of nostalgia for that, so it's going to be hard. So that's where it gets weird because, like, your expectations are so high because the animated movie is so awesome. Holds up perfectly now, So.
And then, so, that's the thing.
Yeah, let's move on with Ghost in the Shell. What do you think of this trailer?
I'm not too, like, Ghost in the Shell, I've seen the anime. I mean, it's okay. I think, honestly, it's a good choice for a live-action adaptation. Because, the Ghost in the Shell kind of takes place in the near future, like 10 or 20 years in the future, where we've already gone through World War III and IV. I don't know how, but we've already gone through those wars and it's been fine. And by fine, I mean, like, we're still together. We're still in one piece. It's not a barbaric, all-out wasteland. I mean, it's kind of a good choice because it's not realistic, but it's doable. It's not impossible to do it. Like, there's a lot of other anime series where it's almost impossible to ever make a live-action version, like Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah. Now the technology's caught up with what the vision was originally, where that works now. Yeah.
But what I mean by that is, like, Ghost in the Shell is one of those things where you could adapt it to it. And the whole controversy about how, she's white instead of Japanese, I mean, you could argue that the anime characters, when you look at the anime, they don't necessarily look Japanese either. They look kind of white.
Okay, so.
Honestly, like, if you look at them, they don't really look Japanese.
I think I heard somewhere that the main person, I forget her name, is it Major or something? Or
yeah.
That she actually isn't supposed to be Asian. Like, I think she's supposed to be American or something.
Yeah. I mean, you look at her. Another really interesting thing is that I'm kind of surprised that they kind of kept the bodysuit or whatever. That she wore, because it looks kind of lewd in live action. Like, honestly, it looks kind of like a racist kind of. Because, like, it's like, it's one thing in an anime where it's kind of like, just drawn. It's not that bad. But, like, when you see it in live action where it's like, it's a perfect kind of depiction it outlines the entire female body, basically,
Yeah. It's like
you know what I mean?
Nude suit.
Yeah. That's what it looks like, and it looks kind of strange in live action. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but, you know what I mean.
Now, they really didn't tell me anything was going on here, so I'm kind of lost, because I haven't seen the anime or anything. I
mean, I don't think, honestly, by the trailers that it'll be bad. I can't guarantee that it'll be really, really good, but it doesn't look bad to me.
So it's okay. Let's see when the story kicks in, because the story of Ghost in the Shell, I've heard, is really good.
Yeah.
If this is all action, I have no idea the context, I have no idea what's going on. It looked cool, but, okay. Do we want to talk about next?
There's a trailer for other movie did we? There is a new trailer for Guardian.
Okay, it just came out today or yesterday, did you want?
Just came out. Now, this trailer is like, I was kind of confused by it because they said, oh, the new trailer, or they didn't say new, they just said the trailer. I'm guessing that they kind of acted like the trailer that we saw a little while ago didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I felt the advertising was, like, oh, the trailer. Not the new trailer, just the trailer.
Yeah.
You definitely see more of the film, and it does look kind of different than the first film in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically with the character interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the monster that they're fighting looks very Doctor Strange kind of thing.
It looks really out there, yeah.
Yeah, it looks really kind of like, this is weird. It looks like a Cthulhu-like monster, kind of. Another thing that's really interesting about this film is we kind of get the confirmed thing that Baby Groot isn't the same as, adult Groot. He's kind of a different character, which is keeping more to the comics where Groot never really dies, but when he's kind of reborn into a new kind of Groot,
Yeah, it kind of seems kind of dumb, I guess. Or, but yeah, I think it looks cute.
Yeah. I don't necessarily really have a problem with that, but I mean, it's kind of, more going towards the comics. Another really interesting thing is that we see a brief clip of the new Guardian that's going to join the team, Mantis. And then Mantis she looks a lot like her comic counterpart. She looks kind of strange at first glance because, she's a weird alien. And according to the directors, they said that Mantis her interactions with the Guardians will be her first interactions with anyone she's ever met, because she's always been in the jail cell, or she's always been in the cell her entire life and has never interacted with anyone. So that's kind of will be interesting to see.
Interesting, okay. I didn't know that. So.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting, that they kind of, and I mean, yeah, it looks different than, which I'm kind of glad, because the first, okay, like when you first see it, the first trailer, I'm going to call it the first trailer, when you first see that first trailer, you kind of think, this is kind of just the first film, but a little bit, like, new feed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this really felt like it was getting, like, they know what they're doing, they're out there, their brain is ball, and, like, it really feels like, the first trailer looked like it was a continuation of one. This feels more like an actual sequel to one.
Yeah.
And
it looks like it's on film more.
Yeah, and how it ended with Drax laughing, man, that was so good. I was so happy with that scene.
Yeah.
Because Drax was in the first movie, but he really wasn't in the movie. Because he was had 5 lines the whole thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be, the first one was a huge success, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I wonder how they're going to try harder to tie it into the MCU, or if it's still going to be totally independent from everything else in the MCU. But we'll see.
So, this is interesting. And, I'm looking forward to kind of what this film will do, because it looks like it's going to be a little bit, outside the box.
Yeah. So, we also got a trailer here for Kong Skull Island. Did you watch this?
Yes. It was, okay, but I don't know, it kind of, wasn't there a lot of comedy?
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with it, where it looked really cool visually, but all the comedy, it just really turned me off. It just seemed really, cringeworthy, and it just didn't land, and it just did not work. And I was just like, shut up. Just stop it. You know, I usually like comedy, especially that actor, but I just don't like how they showed it in this trailer. It just seems so stupid, and annoying.
So stupid.
It reminds me of Ghostbusters. So that kind of ruined the trailer for me. It's like everything else looks cool, looks fun, looks interesting, but like that comedy, I was just like, oh, I don't want to see this movie now, really, because of that. But that's just me. What do you think?
Yeah, I was not really a big, huge fan of this trailer, but and also it's kind of weird how they're gonna have to like make Kong like super big.
Yeah, like they usually make him, to be a few stories high, but this makes him look like he is like Godzilla, huge.
Well, and they're gonna have to do it to make him be able to fight.
So he's supposed to be like, I guess in this movie, like, 500 stories high or something. Ridiculously huge,
Yeah, and he would be the biggest Kong out there in interpretation.
Yeah. And like, okay, the comedy...
Because, I mean, it's not like Kong was irradiated. I mean, it's not like he was created by a nuclear bomb or something.
Yeah, and they kind of say that the whole island has big creatures there, and it's just how that island works. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. John C. Reilly, it just doesn't work in this movie, at least for me,
Well, it's just like, yeah, they were big. It's not, ridiculously big. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So.
Like, being the size of Godzilla is too much of a stretch for me.
So yeah, that's Kong 9. We're kind of pessimistic on this now. Last time we saw it, we were like, okay, it's cool. This time, I don't know.
Yeah, and I originally thought that this was going to be a prequel to that one film.
No, it's not gonna at all be part of it. So.
Yeah, it's not even. I think some people thought that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird that Kong, the Peter Jackson King Kong, is 2005 now.
Yeah.
Man. I give it credit for a few things, but it's just way too long. It really is. It's 3.5 hours long, and it really feels like 5. And I just like, the action scenes did look good on the island, and some of the stuff did work, but it's just way too long. And
yeah.
So, alright, let's move on here. Let's go to some video game news. So, Nintendo did a study. I just rolled my eyes when I got this press release. I put it up, but I kind of felt guilty. Nintendo did a study that shows that parents are too busy to play video games with their children. So, that's a big revelation, James.
Yeah, like, parents have to work,
Yeah, they have lives. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Cringeworthy, kind of.
It was a really kind of clever. I give them a sec. And it took me a minute to get it. Oh, this is just a really sneaky ad for Mario Party.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and you can play Mario Party with them and play, 5-minute sessions, so that way you can play. And it's like, whatever, Nintendo, whatever. Stop this, you're desperate for attention, and, this is just a really bad study. Obviously, what's next?
Yeah.
The sun is hot?
Yeah.
Water is wet?
Yeah. It's like obvious.
Obviously. I mean, come on. So that's just stupid. I just wanted to shoot out Nintendo on that because it's just a stupid way to advertise Mario Party. Just video. So, Nintendo did reveal some big news on Super Mario Run.
It's me, Mario!
We got a release date and a price. So the release date is actually about a week from now, on December 15th. for $9.99. And you're going to have the option to pay like a demo version of it, and then, to unlock the entire game, it'll cost $10, and that'll be it. There won't be any more microtransactions or, DLC. It will be it. Once you buy it for good. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I kind of like that, but again, it's a running game for $10.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they have to prove that it's much more than, Endless Runner, because there's so many of those out there. The gameplay does look fun, but I mean, is it $10 worth fun? I don't know. It's just tapping the screen. And how much depth is there to that? But at the same time, an actual Mario game on the phone, $10 isn't too bad, generally speaking, because people kind of, I don't know, don't pay attention to the price of games on the phone. Like, oh, it's free, and then, oh yeah, this didn't cost $1. Oh, that didn't cost $1. And like, you don't pay attention, but it adds up to like $30, $40 you spend on Candy Crush, and you really don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
You could be playing Bejeweled, and it's basically the same thing for free, or,
yeah.
so it's just one of those things where people don't know the value of, money on games for mobile. So $10 doesn't sound bad, comes out 2 weeks, I might try it out, but I don't know if I'm gonna jump for $10. It's good for, putting it out there before Christmas, and then people that get it, if they get each, iTunes gift cards for Christmas. Oh, with $10, I'll go ahead and buy it. I have, $20 iTunes gift card, points or whatever, That might be a good way, to get some sales. But it seems okay. I'm not 100% against it, but I'm not 100% for it either.
Yeah.
So, continuing on with Nintendo news, they released application called Swap Doodle that came out of the blue. Like, it literally is like, oh, by the way, here's a new application called Swap Doodle. You can draw 3D pictures on your 3DS. I was like, what? And it's free? Like, okay. So,
yeah.
Did you get a chance to play with it or no?
No, not really.
Okay. Did you ever play with Swap Note?
No.
Okay, so let me put that context back there. So Swap Note was like a little email app, basically, from the 3DS that you could send out messages to other people, and like you could draw in 3D, and basic little, and take pictures and add the pictures to it, and send it to different friends you have on 3DS. And it works pretty well. You could have different little stationaries you could buy, and it was kind of slow of an app, but it worked okay, and it was kind of fun. Occasionally Nintendo would send out, oh, this is some new stationery, or you could email your friends a picture or whatever, like free music or something. And eventually had to kill it because in Japan, I don't know how they did it, but some perverted guys got the 3DSs of the friend codes of these girls, and were just sending nasty stuff to the girls, and eventually, the news heard about it, and Nintendo killed off Swapco. And so, that's the thing. You can't, and then that was it. The app was still there. You could download it, but you can't actually send anything through it. So it's been dead for like a year and a half now, if not 2. And then now the Swap Doodle came out, and it looks almost exactly like Swap Note.
Yeah.
So basically, you draw, and you can draw basically in 3D and send out your messages, and you have different backgrounds you could do. So you can't attach pictures to it. So that way you don't have that issue again where someone sends inappropriate pictures to people. And then a lot of the game, or it's not really a game, it's more of just an application, is segmented. So like you start off with the red ink, and that's it. If you want to buy, 5 color packs and, 3 different, things to help you draw Mario, that costs $2. If you want to buy the, so it's all these DLC packs you can buy. So the free version is just, you basically draw on the screen, you have one color and that's it. And then, Joe's supposed to have training, how to, show you how to draw things, but it's not as detailed as different training apps they have. The whole Art Academy, it's not as good as that. And everything, for the free, download, you get very little bit amount of it. So it's okay. It's better. I'm happy that it's up and running and it works, but it's kind of very limited for being free. Where before you got everything there for free, So
yeah,
it's just kind of interesting. So we got some news on the Inhumans TV show, which I'm kind of mixed about. Did you hear about this?
what?
Alright, so the Inhumans are going to have their own Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show, and it's going to actually be filmed on IMAX. Like the first 2 episodes are going to be in IMAX format, and then you can go to the theater and watch the first 2 episodes, and then they're going to air it. Now, the problem is the Inhumans TV show is not, they said very clearly, not from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it does not have a direct connection to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or other MCU stuff, which is very disappointing considering that that's a major plot device for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. It really kind of is just like, oh, I guess they're not gonna even connect to it.
So, like, they said that the basic premise of this is like basically one family is Inhumans, and they are trying to survive, and I mean, it's cool that it's being filmed in IMAX. I definitely want more stuff to be filmed in IMAX, but I'm not sure about this. I think this is going
weird.
a little bit too far, and they're still not doing a good job of connecting the dots between other MCU TV shows and movies. I think that, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the only one that really connects to the movies. Everything else is just kind of there, but not really. So, yeah, I'm not sure about this TV show. We did get some news on another Disney live-action movie, which is Winnie the Pooh. It's like, okay, they're doing everything live-action now.
Yeah.
So, like, everything. Like, I think Little Mermaid live-action coming up soon, too. So, everything that is a really big Disney franchise is going to have a live-action remake. And, Lion King, we talked about that before. So, just like, what else, I don't know about this. I think Winnie the Pooh is just so out there, and I don't know if that would work.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of.
Is it all going to be, I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but isn't Winnie the Pooh supposed to be all in Christopher Robin's mind? Like, it's not really real life, it's all imaginary? Or am I forgetting that or thinking wrong? You never heard that before, James? It's supposed to be in his dream, that he's a daydream.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not real, events. Like, Christopher Robin just wake up and then he's not thinking of Winnie the Pooh anymore or something. And that there's something bad happening in his real life that is causing him to have these very, big dreams, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where she doesn't want to go into reality,
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Okay. We did get news that Aquaman is moving to October 2018. And that's going to be delayed a few months. I think it's supposed to be from June to October. So we'll see how that works out for Aquaman. I think a lot of the stuff with the visuals is going to be kind of really interesting to see how they make that work on screen. Because water could look really fake or really awesome on screen. You just have to make sure it's believable, Once it starts looking too out there, it's hard to really care. You know what I mean?
I mean, that, or it will look like the water in The Last Airbender. Care.
And then we got a release date, quote unquote, which I'm not even really, whatever. Avatar 2 is supposed to come out December 21st, 2018. So that's still another year, we're about to go into 2017 and there's still 2018. And December 21st is like right at the end of the year. So it's like, how easy is that going to be to push back? Be like, no, we'll do it next year, We haven't seen anything on Avatar either.
I mean, honestly, it's almost taken 10 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really make sense because it seems like one of those, brain dead, we're going to make a sequel as fast as possible kind of thing.
Yeah, they made so much money worldwide. And, they already developed, they already have it ready, just go run with it, just make it work. And I don't know if there's still a market out there for Avatar. I really do love that movie. I think it's fantastic. I just don't know if the rest of the world cares anymore,
It's the longer they wait, the more obscure it becomes.
But then they can hit the whole Jurassic World where it becomes retro and, oh man, I can't wait to see that. It's like, one of those franchises that, was from my kidhood, and now I'm an adult, I can take my kid to see it or something, those kind of weird retro kind of things where it goes back to being in style because it's retro.
Yeah, I could see that kind of, but, I mean, it's not even 20 years old, that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's just old enough to where it's obscure but not nostalgic.
Yeah. Okay. So we got here, so I actually got to play out with, Petition VR, about 2 weeks ago. And I want to talk about it. Have you actually tried to play with it in demos or no? Not yet. Have you played it in VR or no?
Okay.
So there's at Best Buy, they had a Sony representative, and she was saying, well, have you ever played VR before? And I was like, no. Well, actually, I don't know if you really count this. I said, yeah, actually, Virtual Boy. I played that.
Virtual Boy.
She was like, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's like, it's this piece of crap thing Nintendo released 20 years ago.
Everything was in red.
And she was like, oh, this is going to blow that out of the water. I was like, oh, I bet it will. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to play a basic thing. I don't want to play like a real game because I never had this kind of experience before, and I was kind of in a rush anyway. So let me play this like water game. So basically, you're like you go inside there, and you're inside of a cage that's going under the ocean. So you're going into the ocean and going down, and you can turn 360 degrees all around you and see different fish swim around you, and eventually there's like a scene where the shark is attacking you, and all of it really works, and it looks fantastic, and like it really felt like I was there, the virtual reality works, and it really, it did have great 3D there, where I felt like I was actually able to grab onto things, and like the depth there, and like it really felt like I was there. And I know there's like a point where a shark attacks you, and you have no defense against it. There's no weapons or anything. You just have to hope everything works out, and it's just pretty exciting for what it is. Just to, like a video. And I was like going like the front gate. There was a little cage I was in, fell off, and I actually like walked and like peeked down, and actually I gave myself a little vertigo because like you can really feel like that's really down. I know it was all fake, but it worked, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I was like, oh, do you want to buy one now, sir? It's like, oh, I don't have that kind of money. But it was pretty cool. And there was one person that did buy one right after they did the demo, and the Sony representative, she was like super excited, and she's like, please take a picture, I could show my boss, that actually sold one, which, hey, give her credit, it's one of those things that they probably do have some make some kind of commission on there, so. It was cool. It was definitely cool. I still kind of think it's still expensive, for what it is. But I'm definitely interested in buying it, and it definitely worked, and it was a whole lot better than Virtual Boy. But everything is, it would be disappointing if it wasn't. I didn't have a headache afterwards like I did with the Virtual Boy.
You just have to take it with your head.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I also want to quickly mention, so I've been in contact with another 3D person, a new fan to the site, and his name is like Mr. Patrick. I'm not going to say his first name, but he's actually living in Malaysia. And he was telling me how things are pretty interesting over there compared to here. Now, James, whenever you go see a 3D movie, you have certain expectations, right? Because you live in America, right? And like, you don't really expect there to be subtitles that really pop out and distract you from what you're seeing. And that's one thing he mentioned, and that the brightness of the movie is like seriously super dark. Like you barely see it. And he saw this movie in 3D. And like, there's just, the brightness is either really, really too high or really, really too low. And like, the subtitles would pop out and like, you can't see the actual movie. And, there's only like one or two theaters in the area where he lives that was in 3D, and it wasn't that great. So it's one of those things where it's hard to really want to be a fan of 3D because it's so inconsistent. You don't know if that day the theater will be good, but tomorrow it will be good. How they do everything. And they did say that, they did have some 3D movies over there, or Asian movies, that we haven't gotten yet.
Yeah.
And those look better because they're filmed over there in 3D and stuff. Like, there's actually one coming out, I think, next week called Swordmaster, that is filmed in 3D and is, I think a Japanese movie. And he did mention something too that, I didn't think about, but they have a lot of, issues in Malaysia with censorship. So they actually would censor certain words on the screen because they have subtitles for people that don't know English, because a lot of people do, but not everyone. And the subtitles often changes the context of what they're showing on screen. Like an example they said was, he went to go see the new Underworld movie, because it came out this week, and, for us it comes out in January, and then there's like a character there, and it says, like, you're a little bitch, and on the subtitles, it says, I hate you a lot. And, yeah, it kind of throws off what the meaning of the words are, what's going on. And if you're just reading the subtitles, you know, it throws it off, and it makes it not be as, you know, it just makes it like they're actually changing things, you know, and making it more tolerable for that area, which is weird because, like, you don't think about that. Like,
Yeah.
I guess, you know, for us in America, we, you know, besides our nudity thing, we're going to see pretty much anything you want to see. You know, there's not going to be that many NC-17 hardcore pornography videos you can watch in the theater, you know, but we'll be able to watch any kind of violence. We don't have to worry that, you know, the government's going to censor the video before we watch it, you know. If you want to censor it yourself, there's websites that do that, you know, and tell you what's going to be there, but you don't have that theater, you know, the government makes that decision.
Yeah.
And like they, in India, they just started doing the national anthem played before the movie starts, which is kind of, and you have to stand up, so to, you know, make more patriotism to everyone watching the movie, you know, and just like, that seems so weird. Like, I really don't really want to, you know, have the Pledge of Allegiance every time there's a movie going out. I just want to watch the movie, you know? So I thought you would find that pretty interesting, how things are different in other parts of the world and how 3D movies are not consistent. Like, you know, for me up here, there's some movie theaters that are better than others, but it's still going to be basically the same, you know?
Yeah.
Where, like, obviously, I would love to see every 3D movie in IMAX because I think IMAX is pretty awesome with, you know, having the huge screen and high-tech stuff. But for the most part, you know, everything is in real 3D, you know, that brand, and pretty much it's gotten to be standardized where there might be some theaters that are a little bit better than other theaters, but you basically get the same experience. Basically. You know, if you have a really bad experience, then you should probably, you know, talk to the people there. But for the most part, I think you'll get the same experience regardless of where you go. And over there, it's not at all consistent. So you don't know how things are going to be, and if it's too bright or not bright enough. And I know brightness is an issue with a lot of 3D movies, but like it's become less of an issue, at least for me. You know, I've seen a lot of different movies, and it hasn't been that bad. You know, it was a long time ago when there's new projectors and everything, but that's still an issue in different parts of the movie, you know. We talked about this in China a couple months ago, and they had Jason Bourne in 3D, and they had an option to have it in 2D, and you know, it's just interesting to see the world perspective and, you know, how things are different in other parts of the world.
And how things, you know, compared to America are kind of worse.
Yeah, you know, and it's sad, you know. You wish that you would have the same basic quality because, you know, a lot of it is standardized. You know, a lot of theaters have surround sound and, you know, I get kind of, I guess, spoiled maybe that our theaters, a lot of them have the super comfortable seats. You know, and when you go to a theater that has the cheap seats that are not comfortable to sit in, you know, they're not the, you know, recliners or the, you know, theater, you know, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like, syncing everything up and everything, and all those technical things that we don't think about are still an issue in different parts of the world where they don't care as much. You know, you're the only theater in town, so why do you have to change? You just have to accept it. Where over here, we have theaters everywhere. So if you don't have, you know, if you don't like that theater, if they give you bad service, screw it, you have to go somewhere else. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for the show. We're going to try to have another podcast before the end of the year, but with the holidays coming up, with Christmas, you know, and Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, you know, we may have one more episode before the end of the year, maybe two. Just depends on time. But because this year, Christmas and New Year's falls on a Sunday, so it's kind of one of those things where our record dates are usually on Saturday or Sunday, and I'm not going to be interfering with James's or my Christmas or New Year's plans. So we'll try to have another podcast maybe next week, depending on news, what's going on. But no guarantees. We'll try. If not, if this isn't the final podcast of the year, well, we'll see you in 2017. But we'll try to have another one. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this podcast.
Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, love, whatever. Heart it, be something.
3D or 2D.com can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. And if you want to send us email, our email address is email3dortwo d@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.